Oh man, it's been so long since I last made a level guide for this game, and boy did I miss this feeling. I can't tell you just how good it feels to be back and just be able to make videos for all of you beautiful people again. Although, I noticed that there's a lot of new faces among the crowd this time. Well, I suppose that makes sense seeing how GTFO is finally out of its early access phase now. So to all of you who are brand new here, hello! My name is Professor Scalar, and I'm a GTFO content creator. I make a variety of videos for the game that include things like lore, general gameplay, guides, challenges, highlights and lowlights, and some other little goodies here and there. I have to say though, if I known that there were going to be so many brand new people here, I would have brought some snacks for everybody. Well, I'm sure some of you will find something else on the channel that'll catch your eye, so I hope you enjoy your stay and you enjoy what I do. But enough with the personal introductions. You're here because you wanted an R6A1 level guide, correct? Well, you've come to the right place. However, since it is the first level guide of a brand new rundown, I want to take those of you who are new to the game and quickly explain the style of these level guides and what you can expect to see. For those of you who already know how this all works, jump to the time that you see on screen to skip over this intro and get right into the level guide itself. For those of you who are staying, let's get this introduction out of the way quickly, that way we can move on with the rest of the video. So first of all, if you are somebody who is completely brand new to the game, and I mean really new, you have no idea what this game's about, you haven't watched anybody else's videos, you've barely played it yourself, you don't understand how enemies work, how alarm doors work, how your guns or tools work or anything like that, don't watch this video. This video is not meant for you yet. This video is going to be styled very similar to how I've styled almost every other level guide I've done before. In a way where I assume the people who are watching it have basic game knowledge, they have the skills to actually be able to complete the level, they just need a little bit of extra knowledge to help them along the way because they're making too many mistakes, or maybe they just don't realize that there's a much more efficient way to do it than the way they are currently doing it. So if that sounds like you're brand new and you don't understand the basics of the game, pause this video, scroll down, go into the description of the video, and there you will find a link to a beginner's intro guide video that I have made recently. That one will give you the information you need to know to get into this game. Things like how to matchmake with your friends or people on the Discord, how to choose a loadout, what you can expect from levels, how to deal with enemies stealthily or if they wake up, how to do alarm doors, or anything else that I think beginners should really know within the first 30 or so minutes of them playing. So again, if that sounds like you, if you're new to the game, pause this, go to the description, click on that link, watch that video first, and then come back here and watch this one. Things will make a whole lot more sense if you do it that way. Now, if I'm not going to be talking about that type of information in this video, what am I going to be covering in these level guides? Well, every level guide starts off the same way, with my recommended loadout. There's a wide variety of primary guns, secondary guns, tools, and melee weapons that you could bring down into the complex with you, and all of these have their own pros and cons. And for the first few levels, you can take just about whatever combination you want and still be able to beat the levels, as long as you have the teamwork, coordination, and skill to back yourselves up. However, in some of the more difficult levels, bringing in specific guns and tools and maybe even your melee weapons can make a huge difference for you and your team. So I spend this portion of the video talking about my recommended loadout or loadouts, and then I give explanation as to why I recommend them. I don't want you to just blindly believe what I'm saying is good. I want to show you why I think it's good and why I recommend you bring it in. After the recommended loadout, I then sort of drop down to the level and then we talk about everything zone by zone from start to finish. I don't talk about literally everything throughout the level, I just talk about the really important crucial details I think you should know. So if a zone is incredibly dangerous because maybe it has a lot of enemies or a specific type of enemies, I make note of it. If there are items in it that you need to progress like key cards, power cells, or fog turbines or other things, I will mention them. Or when you get to security doors, this is a big part of my level guides, I will talk about them. Because when you go from zone to zone, you have to go through a security door. Sometimes it's very simple and easy, you just do a full team scan and boom, you walk right in. But in a lot of situations, you have to do an alarm. And these alarm doors can be quite difficult and are usually where teams will wipe. So when it gets to the point of an alarm door, I'll show you a map overlay that looks like this. Whenever you're doing an alarm door, enemies will only spawn 2 rooms away from you. So the numbers on this map overlay show you how far away each room is from you, that way you know exactly which rooms enemies can spawn in and which ones they can't spawn in. It will also have the 3 different colored arrows, as you can see, and these, well, you can read the text on screen, you get an idea of what these arrows signify. So while I'm showing you the map overlay, I will explain stuff like how you can set up your tools, your mine deployer, your C-foam launcher, your sentries, or whatever you brought in with you, and how you can best defend against this alarm door and what you can expect. And then once the alarm door is finished, we just keep on moving on. From start to finish, I talk about everything in the level that I think you really should know about to have an easier time in completing it. And that's honestly all there really is to these level guides. A loadout recommendation, and then from start to finish, everything important that you need to know. And now that you know what to expect from these level guides, let's actually get into R6A1's level guide and talk about everything you need to know to beat R6A1. R6A1 is the first level of the rundown, which means it's the perfect testing grounds to try out new things. So when it comes to your primary gun, secondary gun, or your melee weapon, have fun, experiment, try out different ones, see which ones you like, which ones you don't like, and just get a good idea of how they operate and their strengths and weaknesses. Because learning about that now will help you out quite a bit later on, where you definitely want to know exactly how good each gun is at different situations. As for your loadout, I'll recommend you a classic, one that I like to take whenever I go into a level I've never seen before, which would be bringing in a bio tracker, a mine deployer, a C-foam launcher, and a sentry of your choice, so auto, burst, or sniper. Bio tracker is quite handy as you're able to see how many enemies there are in the dark and the radar of it. If enemies wake up, you'll be notified almost immediately with it, and then if you have a lot of enemies coming after you, you could ping them, make it easier for you and your team to see them, no matter what type of environment you're in. Mine deploy and C-foam launcher, these pair quite nicely for the alarm doors. You just have to figure out where they're coming from, shut the door, C-foam it, which will reinforce it and make it take long for enemies to break it down, then have a mine on the inside near the door. That way, once the door breaks down, that mine blows up and will kill most of the enemies, so you have to shoot a whole lot less. And then finally, the sentry. If you're in a situation where you're in a wide open area and mines and C-foam aren't really going to help you out a whole lot, but you have to defend against enemies, you plop down a sentry and it will give you some extra firepower to make it so your chances of survival are quite a bit higher. You can change this loadout up a little bit if you want to, but I would say people who are completely new to the game probably should take this, as you'll be able to sort of see how every single tool works in the game. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that your main objective is to retrieve the matter wave projector, and it doesn't tell you where this is, but it will always be located inside of zone 80. That will never change. However, you start off inside of zone 75, so you have a fair amount of distance you need to cover. Inside of zone 75, you'll find 3 security doors, one to the west, one to the east, and one to the north. Ultimately, you need to go to the north in order to get into zone 80, but this security door that leads to zone 78 is locked and requires a keycard to get into it. So you're going to want to go to the terminal that's in this room and use the query command that the game gives you to query where that keycard is and figure out which zone it's located in. Because this keycard will always be in either zone 76 or zone 77. Once you know which one's in, you go to the corresponding security door and then you just activate the security door. Both 76 and 77 are just a full team scan, so no matter which one you have to go to, you don't have to worry about an alarm. Inside of either one of those 2 zones, there will be more resources, however there will be some enemies, so do your best to stealthily clear out them without waking them up and wasting ammunition, and just look around for that keycard. The game will tell you to use the ping command to find it, that way you know exactly which room it's in, and once you have the resources and that keycard with you, you can head back into zone 75 and then put that keycard into the security door to zone 78. However, after you do so, you'll see that the security door gives you a warning because there is a class 2 diminished alarm tied to it. So this will be your first instance of an alarm door in this rundown. Now, a class 2 alarm means that there are going to be 2 sets of scans you're going to have to do. And the fact that it's diminished is actually quite nice because that means the amount of enemies that spawn in per wave is going to be less. So this is actually a pretty good alarm door to start the rundown off with. But since it's an alarm door, let's look at a map overlay. As you can see in this map overlay, I have the western security door and the eastern security door open, and this will not be the case for you people. You only need to go to one of those 2 directions to get the key card. I just have them both open, that way I can just have one image and I don't have to show you 2. So if enemies are coming from the west, you can see they can only spawn in one room and they have to go through this door right here to get to you. So this is the door I highly recommend you shut and place a mine on it, sort of like you can see in the background footage, and that will be pretty much all the defense you need to do. You don't need to C-foam it, and you do not need to place down your sentry. If enemies are coming from the east though, they have 2 rooms they can spawn in, which means these are the 2 doors they have to break down. But just like the west, you're just going to simply place 1 mine on both of these doors on the inside, your end. That way once the door breaks open, the mine will blow up and deal with most of the enemies. Once your setup is prepared and you're good to go, activate the alarm door, do the 2 sets of scans, and then just deal with any of the remainder enemies that do survive the mine explosion. Once you hear the music go away, you know that you're safe, and then you can open up the security door. Or at least, that's how it used to work before in the past, but this security door has a new mechanic tied to it that was first introduced with this rundown. You may notice that there's a green symbol on the door, and that symbol wasn't on the security door to Zone 76 or 77. That symbol signifies that this is a checkpoint door, which yes, it does work probably how you think it does. So once you finish the security scans, you're then able to hold E on the door, and instead of it opening it up like it normally would, it will then present you with another full team scan that looks a little bit different. And when you get this scan up to 100%, it will save that exact moment in the game, and if at any point from here on you wipe in this level, you will be presented with this screen. And on the screen you have 2 options. You kind of return back to the lobby, which is basically foregoing the checkpoint, just saying you don't want to try more, you're done for the day. Or you restart from that checkpoint where you'll be teleported back to that exact moment. Now the reason I'm saying that exact moment is because I quite literally mean that exact moment. So if you finish the security scans for the door and then you do the checkpoint scan while enemies are still coming after you because not all of them are dead, those enemies are going to come back with you. So I highly recommend kill every enemy from this alarm door, make sure that the music goes away, and then do the checkpoint scan. That way you don't get a nasty surprise if you do wipe later on. But once you finish the checkpoint scan, you can then open up the door for real this time and head into Zone 78. There's nothing really that I need to take note of when it comes to Zone 78. There's quite a few rooms, you'll see some more enemies, more resources, nothing out of the usual. So let's jump to the end of it where we'll find the security door that leads us to Zone 79, which is going to be a Class 3 alarm door. And since it's an alarm door, let's look at a map overlay for it. As you can see, enemies can only possibly spawn in 1 room, and we're going to do a little bit of a different method than we did before. We're going to leave these 2 doors here open, that way almost every single enemy that spawns in during this alarm will go through those open doors, and they'll go for this door right here, which we're going to shut, place a mine on it, and also seafoam it with the seafoam launcher. That way it's fully reinforced and it will take much longer for enemies to break it down. If you want to, you can also place a mine on this door right here, just in case some of the enemies split off from the main group and go the other direction, but most of the time they will not do that. They'll go for the 1 door that you seafoamed and mined. Once your preparations are set and all the other doors are shut besides the ones you're supposed to leave open, initiate the alarm door, do the scans, finish them, wait for the enemies to break into the room, and then deal with any of the enemies that are still left alive after the mine goes off. Once everything is dead, you can open up the security door and head into Zone 79. Zone 79 is a long rectangular room. There will be some boxes and lockers in here, but there will never be any enemies, so it's a pretty safe area. At the far end of it, you'll find a security door that leads to Zone 80, and this is just a full team scan door. However, this full team scan is going to take a little bit longer than other full team scans because there will be some dialogue that plays while you're on the scan. When you open the door, you're going to hear a voice talk to you, which if you're brand new to the game, you have no clue who this person is and you probably don't know what he's talking about. But if you love lore and backstory in games, pay attention, it'll make sense later and it's very important. If you're a returning player, you know exactly who's talking and what he's saying. Once that audio log finishes, the security scan will also finish within a few seconds of it, so you'll be able to open up the security door and head into Zone 80. Inside of Zone 80, there will never be any enemies, there will never be any boxes or lockers, you're just in a big open room, and in the middle of it, you will find the Matterway projector that you need for your main objective. So walk up to it, pick it up, and once you do, you'll be teleported into the Sahara Desert. Which, don't worry, you're not going to get attacked or ambushed or anything. You can walk around for a few seconds, but after a few seconds have transpired, you'll be teleported back into the room you were just in. Upon being teleported back into the room though, you're going to hear an alarm initiate, and this is going to be an extraction alarm, so it's time for you to leave the level. Thankfully, your point of exit is in the room to the north of you, Zone 81, and now that you have the Matterway projector with you, the security door to Zone 81 will be unlocked. So rush over there quickly, open up the door, and head right on in. In the far back of it, you'll find a big red scan. All you have to do is have at least one person in the scan, as well as the Matterway projector for to gain progress, and you're just going to have to deal with a few wave of enemies in the meantime. If you have mines or sea foam, definitely place them throughout the room. If you have a sentry or two, place them down, that way you have some extra firepower. And you just have to hold out for a few moments. Doesn't take too terribly long, it shouldn't be that difficult for you and your team. And once that scan hits 100%, you are done and have beaten R6A1. And that's all there really is to it. Just like always, if you have any tips or tricks for this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, leave it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, then consider hitting that like button. It helps out the channel and it helps these videos get noticed by people who really need them. And while you're down there, you might as well hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. I also have my own Discord server, so if you want to go the extra mile and become part of the community I'm building, hop right on in. Link is down in the description. Until next time, have fun with GTFO's 1.0 release. There's a lot of new stuff to test out, and I'll see you all in the next video.